Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Door to Expansion webcast. And I am your host, Anthony Hubbard. I do have joining us today Mrs. Stephanie Hollins Passmore, Ormon King, and Tony Arrington. But before we start this, I always have to say some good words to you. So before we begin, prepare your ears to listen and your heart to receive as you take in the words that look to change lives, renew hearts, and open minds. Welcome again to the Door of Expansion, where I am your host, Anthony Hubbard, the founder and owner of Speak to My Heart Life Coaching. And if anybody don't know, a life coach is a person who partners with clients and asks thought-provoking questions to create a process that will inspire them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So with that being said, let me introduce my co-host, Ms. Stephanie Hollins Passmore, who is a certified marriage and family therapist and the owner and founder of the Narrative Shift LLC. And I'll let her define what a counselor is and what they can do for you.
Hey there, good evening. So I help individuals shift their narratives in managing life stressors that affect their mental health. That's what I do as a counselor. I'm excited about today's show, ready to learn about financial literacy. And so let's get started.
All right. So with that being said, today, we got two awesome guests on here. We got Mr. Antonio Arrington and Mr. Ormon King. So these men are on a mission to educate everyone on the rules of money and how to increase cash flow. Fellas, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So, before we get started, man, let me share some stats from some stats that I got. And then once I share the stats, man, I want y'all to introduce yourself, and then I'll let y'all, give y'all background and show, so people will know that, hey, this is like real life stuff, that y'all ain't just some people just off the street or whatever. But before we get in there, let me share some stats with some people. I got these stats from Policy Advice. So people that were born in the U.S. between the years of 1981 to 1996, which we call it the millennials, only 24% of them have a financial knowledge, which is crazy to me because, we sit and think about it. If I ask how many people can write a check right now, it might be astonishing to even think about that a person cannot write a check. Mm-hmm. So another stat that I looked up, 42% of those same millennials often use alternative financial services such as payday loans, rent-to-own products, auto title loans, and pawn shops due to financial literacy. Now, I ain't gonna be the one to put myself out there on blast, but back in the day, there was some rims out there that I did want to put on rent-to-own. And y'all can't think about it.
Right.
So I'm just putting it out there, but I didn't do it because I already knew what the consequence was.
Mm-hmm.
So only 27% of millennials seek professional financial advice, and then the U.S. student debt was estimated at $1.31 trillion during 2016, and there are around about 44.2 million Americans who are trying to pay back their student debt. And then the last stat I'm gonna leave y'all with is over 40% of U.S. citizens have difficulty open up about financial stress that they're dealing with. So, fellas, why do you think talking about finances is so hard to people? Well, first, let me let y'all introduce yourself. So, Tony, if you want to introduce yourself and then give me your little background, and then Ormon, he can follow up.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. And Mr. Anthony, appreciate you having us on board today. It's really exciting to be here. My name is Antonio Arrington, originally from Englewood, New Jersey. And I did 22 years in the Navy vet, had a bachelor's in business, and I'm a marketing director for Pinnacle Elite by the way of Team Vision. Been a marketing director for 7 years, so learned a lot about finance, how it works, the 3 rules of money and things like that. And a part of our crusade is to educate people on how finance works, just period. Not breaking down something so complex as finance and make it as simple, like I said, so easy that a caveman or a cavewoman can understand how it works. Because I really believe that this information is needed. How I came upon this opportunity, my mentor and friend introduced me to this opportunity. Adrian Ewing, he introduced me to this opportunity, and I thought like, hey, this is incredible. When I saw the information, I said, this is incredible. I know nothing about finance. No one never sat me down about 6 or 7 years ago and showed me this. And I was like, hey, there's a need, because I felt like in my community or in our community, the information wasn't getting disseminated properly. So I said, hey, I'm gonna take it on board. I'm not gonna be the next person, and I don't have nothing against people that do this. I'm not gonna be the next person that open up a barbershop. I'm not gonna create clothing or, try to do, try to make a songwriter or something like that. I said, I'm gonna take the road less traveled, because, we're skeptics, right? We are skeptics by nature and everything. But I said, anybody that will sit down and listen, I'm going to give this information. So I took time to learn it myself. I took time to apply it, and now I'm giving this information out to the masses. And it's been rewarding 8 times, 9 times, 10 times over. So that's my spill. I'm gonna pass it to my good friend Ormon.
Hello. I'm Mr. Ormon King. So I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama. I'm also a Navy vet. So I did 20 years in the Navy. So I'm a retired Navy chief. The reason I got into this business because my good friend Antonio, once I retired, he contacted me about the information, and I don't have a background as far as financial and stuff like that either. So when he actually sit up here and say that a caveman or a cavewoman can do it, it's that simple and that easy. So he reached out to me. I joined in with him, and I started helping out as well, because one of the biggest things that I like to do is, even when I was in the Navy, is mentor. So I found this right here as far as mentoring my, as far as the fellow Americans. I found that I can sit up here and mentor them financially, because at the end of the day, we got a burden on our hands, and a lot of people, they scared to talk about finances because they figured a lot of people would be in their business and all that stuff like this here. But we actually need help, because at the end of the day, how the world is going is going to be 2 classes. It's going to be the wealthy class, and it's going to be the poor class. The middle class is going to be no longer.
Mm-hmm.
So with us sitting up here doing this right here, giving back to the best way we know how, we trying to educate everyone and get them on the same power trip as the wealthy class. So hopefully the information that we put out today, that'll help a lot of you in the long run, in the future.
Well, you know what? I'm glad, because now we are just gonna jump right on into it. So you said, you're talking about the different classes, but what is so hard? What do y'all think is so hard about people wanting to talk about finances? Because I'm telling you, I've been around a lot of people. People can bring up different topics. They can talk about how they love life is. They can talk about a whole bunch of different things. But when you start talking about finances, that's just like a no go. So why do y'all think it's a problem?
Well, I think it's a problem because the biggest, hardest topic is a person is they're proud, especially a lot of people that they too proud to sit up here and say they need help, they struggling, they doing this, they doing that. So if you sit up here and you talk to it, like for me, if I go home and I talk to a lot of people, the first thing if I mention finances to them, the first thing they'll holler about is I'm straight, I'm good, this, that, and the other. But then they'll call you next week and say, hey, can I borrow $20? Or can I borrow this? My light's about to get cut off, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta be open. We gotta be open to this right here, because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, if we're not open to it, I know there's a lot of scams and all that stuff like that out there. And people think they're trying to, you know what I'm saying, get got. But so with us, we actually got licensed with the state. So there's nothing scam about us. We got to follow all the state rules and guidelines and regulations. So we're actually here to help. We give out the information for free, because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, that lets you know that how serious we are, because we're not charging you anything to give out this information to you. Everything that we do is free. We charge the companies for helping the person, right? So that's.
I would like to add something to Mr. King's answer. The reason why it's so hard, because it's not a topic that's talked about or normally discussed at the dinner table, right? So when you look at when people are comfortable with topics, they're more open, or they're more subject to listen. So anything somebody's uncomfortable with, they're going to shut you down. They're going to shut you down, right? So as soon as I say, hey, hey, how much money you got in the bank? Hey, oh, that's none of your business. That's none of your business. Why? Because it's a learned habit. It's a learned trait. It's our money blueprint. Everybody has a money blueprint. And you know where you learn your money blueprint from? You learn it from your parents. You learn it from your community leaders. You learn it from your church. Everybody that you grew up around, right? You're talking about 10, 15, 20 years of this. Then a person comes in and says, hey, let me see what you have and let me make it better, or let me help you. Now your walls is up. Now, we on a panel, right? We're all Black. We're skeptics because of just things that's happened throughout our lives. So if we come to one another, I'm using that as an example, naturally our antennas and our skepticism is at an all-time high. That's the first thing, because we've been burnt so many years in many different ways, and we're always out to say, hey, somebody's about to try to take something from us. You want something from me. We have that mentality of like that. So that's why I wouldn't say it's hard. I'm saying it's challenging to get this information to people that really need it. And then also they need to understand why. We need to understand why. If you take the time to know the why, everything else is easy. So if I say, hey, you need to save money, why? Because you have 3 or 4 kids, and 10 years from now, something can happen to you. Once I get that message home to an individual, then it starts tearing down the walls, because personally, it's not about you no more. It's about the most important thing in your life. So we have to get comfortable with talking about a topic when it comes to finance. We got to get comfortable saying, I don't know about finance. Most people don't know about finance. They know a version of it. They don't know about finance. And that version that they learned was from their uncle or someone that was teaching them, that they seen that had some money in their hand, and say, oh, they know about money. I'm just going to trust that person because I just seen them with money. If that makes sense. So we got to go ahead.
So my question would be, at what age do we start talking about this?
Well, for me, as soon as they start understanding. As soon as they start understanding, teaching them how to save, teaching them the 3 rules of money, start talking to them about taxes, because kids are way smarter than we were at their age. Why? Because they're growing up in the computer age. They have all this information at their fingertips, and they're like a sponge. They're inquisitive. So you got to start as early as possible. Now, is everybody on the same level? No, but you could teach your kids how to count money and everything. I learned how to count money playing dominoes. My mom taught me how to play dominoes and stuff. Hey, count the corners, right? She told me, hey, you should put 1/10 away for church. You should save some money. Don't spend all your money. And that was hounded into me. So we, as soon as understanding, when you start understanding, they start asking questions. We need to start giving them those tools and nuggets because everybody else is doing. Every other culture and race is having these conversations with their kids early. We should do the same thing. We shouldn't leave it up to the teachers. We shouldn't leave it up to service people that somebody else to teach our kids how to take care of their finances or how to balance a checkbook or something like that. That should come from home.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephanie, this leads me into a question for you. As far as a trauma counselor, do you think there's something called financial trauma?
There is financial trauma. It can be defined as or described as something that happens when a family or a person goes through a significant loss in their financial circumstances. That could either be like a loss in employment, or it could just be debt. And it can be influenced from our circumstances and environmental factors. And I would say that financial trauma is inherited, so we are conditioned to have this poor man mentality, and we from an early age, and we take that on into a different generation. So it's very soulful, so it's something that we have to unlearn, to learn, to relearn. So yeah, and financial literacy should become a part of our culture. That's through knowledge, investment, and discipline. So we have to do some reconditioning to actually take in that financial literacy with understanding, like really how it works for us, how it can work for us.
Gotcha. So,
Can I ask
go
you,
ahead.
Stephanie? So in the book, The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harvey Eckler, I think I pronounced his name right. He talks about what you're saying. Like there's a story about a young lady that she was at a restaurant. Dad and mom was arguing at the restaurant. Dad got so infuriated, so mad that he passed out and had a heart attack and died. So what happened? She associated money and everything to that incident, right? So for a while in her life, every time because she was a registered nurse and everything, she made a lot of money, but she got rid of it. Right. So that what you're saying, that trauma, that story came to mind because I read it not too long ago about associating the action or loss of a loved one now for the rest of your life. Guess what? You get rid of your money unconsciously. So she went into the nursing profession because her dad had a heart attack, but she was broke because, hey, every time when something happened, she associated that pain to money. So the book talks about, this book right here talks about reconditioning your mind, talks about reconditioning your mind to say, hey, I need to change my money blueprint, because it all starts with your heart and your subconscious in order to change, right? So you have to tell yourself, hey, this is not true about money. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil, but money itself is not the root of all evil, because money just gives you options to really do what you desire to do in your heart, if that makes sense. So that's an awesome point that you made, Stephanie. So I just wanted to piggyback on that.
Yeah, it's a psychological pattern, and a conditioning. It's almost like being institutionalized by the dollar,
Right.
Just our concept about money, the have and the have-nots, growing and staying in a poor man's mentality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and as much as people don't want to say the 4-letter word here, PTSD, that's what it is. It's really PTSD. So, and this is going to be one of the questions I was going to ask Stephanie as far as PTSD go and financial trauma. You just explained it, especially Tony. You just explained it even with the book that says all of it is connected. So the mindset that I have as a adult was already put into me whenever I was a child because nobody ever taught me. So, and this begs the question is, for for schools. Why do you think schools don't have stuff like this?
Mm.
I mean, to graduate, you got to have English, you got to have social studies, science. But why do you think like financial management is not one of those things that you need to have to graduate?
Well, me on that note, I think in certain aspects, I think you got to be a part of a certain culture to get the whole financial piece as far as dealing with education, right? So coming from Alabama, they
Yeah, we won't
taught
hold that
us.
against you either. We won't hold that against you.
So so coming from Alabama, they teach us a little bit hard about money and all that stuff like that. But do we go into the weeds of everything on the finances portion, how you save, where to put your money and all that stuff like that? No. And I think, to me, what I'm saying, call me, a stereotype or whatever, but I believe it's designed to keep certain part of America, in the dark. That's what I think. You got to have, if you one of the rich and the wealthy and all that stuff like that, I bet your kids get the information as far as what they need to make it in this world. But coming from a poor community, coming from the projects, we don't get that information. We're not, required to get that information to graduate school. Because the first thing that we holler about coming from school is, I'm going to work at McDonald's. We think that's the bomb diggity. Oh, I'm going to work at McDonald's. Or I'm going to work here. I'm going to work there. No, we don't, because we don't think outside the box. A lot of us don't think outside the box. They hand us a couple of scholarships to a school or whatever, but at the end of the day, we stuck with a whole bunch of debt once we get out of school. So it's just a continuous cycle to keep us in a pretty much, we think we're going somewhere, but we still down.
Well,
and just to kind of like,
go ahead.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, like, we're not learning these things in school because school is, in my opinion, is a way to keep us like institutionalized. It's a way to kind of keep society, especially us of color, in a predicament. Like, we're taught, like, if we don't get a secondary education, we're not going to be about anything. Like, so that's ingrained in us. And so when we do have money, we're investing it in secondary education, right? With school loans and debt. So we're putting money more back into the institution, right? We're not keeping it for ourselves or attending trade schools or even creating the ideal of us being entrepreneurs. It's like we have to go to a 9 to 5, So if they were teaching us entrepreneurship, or just some basic math, making the numbers add up, of course we wouldn't attend these colleges and universities. We would just go straight to entrepreneurship, right? So, just to piggyback on that. So
yes.
And a third piggy,
hope
high
that
five,
makes sense,
bam,
but
right, yeah. Bam, another high five on that. I would say that it's a systematic, right, and like you said, conditioned, right, conditioned to a way of thinking. It's just a way of thinking, right, and now with the current crisis, you have people looking for other means. Actually, we say it like this in our industry: when a crisis happens, people become aware. They start thinking outside of the box and everything, right? But when you're behind the power curve, right, we're years and years of conditioning this way, right? And it's going to take time for us to catch up. It's going to take time for us to catch up. Can we do it? Yes, because we have all this information at our fingertips, right? So we actually have the opportunity to change the narrative. But when you're conditioned so long, guess what happens? It's hard to get somebody to step off the diving board. It's hard. I say it's challenging to get people to step off the diving board. But when our back is against the wall, we're willing to do anything to make ends meet or whatever the case may be. So good question. Like I said, systematic and conditioning, and this is years of conditioning.
Yeah,
I agree. And I don't know how many of y'all read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, whenever I sat there and read that book, it just made perfect sense to me because the fact that, you know, Tony, you mentioned it. If somebody has knowledge about this, they're going to continue to pass it down. But then when you don't have any knowledge on it, what can you pass down? I can't give you information I don't know about myself. And and I think that's one of the issues that a lot of people have is the fact that one, they don't know. Two, they care not to even know about it, and just, you know, basically just kick the can down the road. And it's just like, wait a minute, why don't you find out? And, you know, and that's why, you know, I'm glad you started mentioning a couple books on here for people to actually pick up the book and read. And some of these books, the books that you know I've been reading myself are not like long books. You know, it's probably about 120-page book. But that information that you get on those books are so valuable and so powerful that it will literally change you. And as far as and that's what gets me, I think a lot, and that's why I really wanted to do this one right here to talk about financial literacy. Because if you don't want to pick up a book, here you have 4 people that's sitting here that's just saying, look, if you don't want to pick the book up to read, here's some information. Why don't we put the information in your lap and then reach out to somebody else who probably can possibly help you out. And so, you know, that's what the platform is all about.
Right.
So I got a question for you because, and me and Stephanie, we had this conversation the other day, and we was talking about credit. What do y'all think about credit?
Well,
would you rather have $100,000 or a credit score of 750?
I'm gonna give you my definition of it, but I just want y'all to know. I want to hear what y'all got to say.
Hold on, when you put the question out, is I don't have to pay that 100,000 back to nobody?
Yeah.
No, you said that 100,000 is yours. That's what's in your bank account.
Okay, so it's mine or a credit of 750. Okay.
Hey, you know what? Let's push that to 800.
Okay, I got an answer for you. Now, if you asked me that question 6 to 7 years ago, I would say the credit. But now that I could know what to do with that 100,000, I would say give me the money. Yeah. Because I know how to flip that money to make it what a $250,000 or $500,000 in about 10 years or so. So I'll leave the short game and take the long game.
Gotcha.
That's just me personally.
Okay.
So to me, credit is a scam, right? And the reason I say that is because I did Navy and Marine Corps Relief Society, right? So in that, I learned about a lot of veterans, about you know, people who's active duty military and all that stuff like that. So I ran across people who had credit cards, like 17 credit cards, one credit card to pay off another credit card, one credit card to buy groceries, one credit card to, you know, pay certain, but all the credit cards was maxed out, right? And they were so far in debt that, you know what I'm saying, it was no way they were going to sit up here and just say, you know, I'm about to pay all this back, because every time they got a paycheck, guess what they was doing? That whole entire paycheck was going right back into the system as far as paying off. And let's not even talk about the interest that they, you know what I'm saying, that they obtain because they, you know, they behind on their payments and all this stuff like this here. So so that's why I think credit is a way, you know, the people that sit up here and say, oh yeah, I got it now, but I don't have to pay for it till later. You know, I was always raised if you don't have the money for it, you know, then that lets you know you don't need it. Or if it's something that you truly want, then you put your nickels and dimes back. You save up for it until you can actually pay for it outright. Because at the end of the day, that credit is gonna kill you. It's gonna take you on.
So it's an issue of either delayed gratification or instant gratification
Yeah,
with credit and dollars.
and with anything that you don't understand or value, you will abuse. So if you don't understand how it works, right, then you end up abusing it. And most people learn credit by what? Getting in the hole, 10, 15, $20,000, coming out that hole, and they say, hey, I'm never going to do that again. You have some people that learn from it, then you have people that get burnt from it again. Why? Because they didn't learn. They didn't learn from the first go around. So if you understand it, it can be a valuable tool. Just a personal preference from me. I say, hey, I have 100,000. I know I could flip that where I'm at now with my knowledge and everything. So, hey, I'll wait for a minute. I'll wait for the delayed gratification, because that means when I obtain what I obtain, I don't owe anybody. It's all mine.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So it's just a matter of how you approach it. That's just my personal view on it. But there's nothing wrong with having a nice little credit score, as long as you don't abuse it. And everyone has been in a situation where they say, hey, I'm gonna just put it on the card and everything, and then they forget about it or delay the payment, and they use what's called the rule of 72 on credit cards, right? So when you with a late payment, your payments start doubling and tripling, and you can never catch up, because credit cards are not ever meant to be paid off. So you're in debt to an institution longer than you expected, because what? Discipline, not using it right, not being on, you know what I'm saying? There's many factors, but it boils down to knowing how to use credit effectively. It makes all the difference in the world. And that's why I believe our crusade is so important, because a lot of people have credit cards. A lot of people have like 401ks and all these tax deferred products, right, that they are in and don't even know how they work. They don't even realize that, hey, when they need the money the most, Uncle Sam is going to take anywhere from 30 to 50% of it. But when you ask them about it, they will tell you they're good.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, I'm okay. They'll tell you, they match me. They will throw all that in you, because here's the deal. If you're not a licensed professional, you can't break that stuff down to them. You're not supposed to. You're in violation. So that's why I believe what we're doing is so important, and this class is so vital right now, because we just want to stir the pot.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, hey, I have one of those, or hey, I don't understand credit. Can I call you guys? Hey, I'm in debt right now. Can you help me? We can give you the tools to put you in a position to win. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the biggest thing that you mentioned in there was the literacy part. If you know how to use it. And I think a lot of people who don't know, and so here's my perspective. Like I said, I shared it, me and Stephen was talking the other day, and my perspective was, and I heard it, and I was like, it made perfect sense to me. If I have a credit card and somebody stole that credit card, the stolen numbers off of that credit card, the person who's in debt is going to be that company. And the company is going to be in debt. And whenever it's time for them to research to find out who stole their money, that company is going to go after them. But all the money that's in my account is going to stay in my account. But if I use my debit card and somebody stole that money off my debit card, the money I had in my account, that money is coming out of my account. So now it's up to me to find out where my money is. So now I don't have no money. I'm still doing research. And now what? But yet again, when we talk about financial literacy, if I use that credit card and I'm paying that credit card off every month, because if I use $50 off that credit card and I pay that $50 off, there's no balance. And all the money is there. And with a debit card, my credit score is not going to change. But with that credit card, my credit score is going to start going up once they see that I'm a responsible person, and so it's going to rise up. So whenever I heard that, I was like, that makes perfect sense. But yet again, we go back to the beginning of the conversation when we say, if you don't know how to use it and you abuse it, then that's when you screw yourself.
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of these guys, especially the wealthy class, they have no problem with sitting up here saying they're going to file bankruptcy. It doesn't affect them at all because one, they still keep all their money, right? It doesn't. If they do sit up here and say, "Oh, it's going to affect your credit," guess what? They don't care because they got money to go sit up there and buy things out cash right or outright, right? With us, we do the same thing, right? We don't have the finance to sit up here and just say, I'm gonna file bankruptcy because it's attack our credit score. And we don't have that money to sit up here and go and say, I'm about to go buy this brand new car I want. Because everything we do, we gotta finance. So
good point.
And if y'all out there and y'all got credit cards and y'all out there, y'all got loans and stuff like this right now, the biggest thing you need to do is check and see how much interest you paying into that loan and how much of the actual the principal, the sum that you have to pay. The sum is so much cheaper. You pay all that money that you really truly paying toward that loan is interest.
Paying somebody else bills.
The sum can be $200, but the interest can be $600. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
It goes back to knowing the rules. He or she that knows the rules the most and the best. When you said about like bankruptcy and everything, it goes back to Mr. Donald Trump himself. He was bankrupt numerous times, right?
Yeah.
But he still had a lot of money. Why is that? Because he knows the rules of the game. And he or she that knows the rules of the game and apply, that's the key word, apply the rules of the game, will win at this game. So we got to get in the game. We got to get in the game with the knowledge. We got to get in the game with the application. We got to get in the game of networking like we're doing now, helping one another, right? Because if we do that, the game is over. That's all I said. The game is over, But one thing that we have to break this stereotype of is putting information in the book and leaving the book on the desk and never picking it up. Right? We have so many mediums that if you don't like to read, listen to audio CDs, watch videos on YouTube. Everything, all this information is out there for you and readily available to you, right? So that even if you don't understand, you start asking questions. You'll start asking questions like, hey, what is it meant for this? What does it mean for this? Oh, okay. I heard somebody talk about that before. Because if it starts to get you to thinking when you start reading and doing research, and you can ask the question to get the knowledge for yourself. Don't depend on, I would say like this, don't depend on everybody to take care of you. You got to take care of you. You got to get the knowledge, then you go seek professionals to help you where you desire to be. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And that comes down to your finance as well. No one's going to take care of you like you. No one's going to take care of your family like you. No one is going to leave generational wealth to your family like you should. I say it that way. No one's going to do it. So it's all up to you. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. That's what we say. So we got learn the rules. Learn the rules.
So Tony, you jump on that generational wealth, man. So let's jump on retirement. Everybody always want to get there. And of course, people, I think we all around the same age and we looking to get to that, that 60 plus age. And so we can retire, but there's nothing to say that we're going to have money there. So as far as retirement and finances go, what should we be looking at?
Okay. Standardization, right? So I'm 47. So they say for me, I need about $1 million to retire fully. The millennials behind us that's coming, they need roughly about $2 million to retire. Now, are you going to be able to save that just by working a 9 to 5? That's almost impossible to do, right? So going back to the rules, knowing where you to put your money so your money can grow over time, right? Because that will help. the millennial generations come up, they're gonna receive some type of inheritance, because our parents are smarter with life insurance and things like that, right? Those are some of the vehicles that could be used to get kids or the millennials or the next generation to that next level in life and everything. So understanding where you are, creating a financial fin date, and developing a plan to get there will make all the difference in the world. Now, will everybody be millionaires? No, but we will be better off than not even trying. So everybody should have a financial fin date. Say, what do I need to do? Look at you where you're currently at right now, because it's never too late, and say, what do I want my life to look like when I retire? So what is that doing? That's casting a vision for your life. It's giving you a target, right? Then, right, what you have to do is reverse engineer what is it going to take for me to get to that number. If you're married, you should do that with your spouse, right? Hey, what do we need to retire fully in the bank? Okay, where are we currently at? Okay, what are the vehicles what we need to put in place to help get us there? Because putting money in the bank is just not going to do it. You got to put your money in the places where it can double, earn a higher interest rate over time and everything to help you hit the mark. So planning is key, having a vision for yourself, having a vision for your family, and seeking licensed professionals that can help you get there. Now, don't wait until you 55 and say, hey, I'm about to retire in 10 years. Hey, what do I need to do? Right? You should start as soon as possible. If you're in your 20s, you do have time, but I would say, hey, start small and work your way up. Because why? You have more time on your side. And as we become seasoned, because I don't like to say age, as we become seasoned in our walk, we in different seasons in our walk, right? So hey, your priorities start shifting. You say, hey, one day I want to shut it down. So instead of, like you said, them rims earlier or whatever, instead of going out and buying everything new, you better fund that retirement plan, or you better fund that vehicle like it's a new car, because it's going to take you out for the rest of your life. We always say, hey, you could play now or you could play later, but you can't play in both, right? So it's going to require some planning, some discipline, some commitment, and having the right mixture to get you to your retirement goals.
Hey Tony, hey man, if I want to ride on some 26s, don't hinder me, all right?
Hey, just pay it off in cash. I had some 24s and my bits are cloudy. He's like, man, why you riding around with them 24s? I was like, because I wanted them. Hey, I paid cash money. I got a discount. Don't worry about it.
Hey, on the Chevy Nova. Right. Hey, Ormon, I got a question for you, man. I know you from the South, man. How often have you heard somebody say, "Hey, I ain't leaving nobody nothing"? I had to pick myself up by the bootstraps, and somebody else gonna have to pick themselves up by the bootstrap. What type of mentality is that, bro?
So I've heard that. I heard that a million times, right? And saying, part of that mentality thinking, that just let us know, that a person who thinks like that is enslaved in the mind, as far as when it comes down to finances. So every generation, as far as whenever a person have kids, you always want better for your kids than what you came up with and all that stuff like that, so on and so forth. So, as far as with my parents and all this stuff, like I said, like like I said, I'm from Montgomery, so finances wasn't one of the things that was talked about in my house, right? But as I got older, and my dad had got a little while, so he started, start trying to do what he can, as far as telling me about far as saving and stuff like this right here, right? But now I'm already grown, so with me, I'm starting my kids off at a younger age, so I opened them up an account, and I'm putting, like it's nothing major, but I'm doing $100 a month for all of my kids, for all three of my kids. That way, when they start getting of age and all this stuff like this, the only thing that money doing is just sitting in the account, doubling and tripling and quadrupling for them. So when it's time for them to come of age to retire and all this stuff like this here, they can't sit up here and say, well, I don't have anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, the way we're going to sit up here and break the curse of poverty off our generational lives and get on the other side of the wealthy table for us when they come down to retirement, right, is we gotta sit up here, we gotta do right or do better by our kids, right? So because at the end of the day, we have Social Security right now, but who's to sit up here and say Social Security is going to be in place once our kids get older? Because every day you hear talk, they trying to get rid of this thing. They trying to get rid of it. They trying to get rid of it. So who to sit up here and say Social Security is going to be in place? I don't think it's going to be in place because one of the biggest things is who sit up there and put more money in Social Security? It's the middle class. The middle class is going to be going away, right? So with that being said, is the way everything's going to happen is like when they get of age and they get to retire, right? So my plan is they probably have like $1 million far as in their fund far as retirement, right? But at the end of the day, they're gonna take some of that money whenever they have kids, and they can probably start them off in an account far as like 200,000, right? So when they kid get of age, they probably have like 2-3 million or whatever, or a little bit more as far as when they come down to retirement, because the only thing the money do is just double and triple over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the biggest ways on how we're gonna break the curse off of our lives, especially for our kids. Because I've heard so many times that I even had a friend to sit up here and say he got 13 kids, and he said, "Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is." He has 13 kids, right? And his biggest thing is he was like, well, he's medically retired, and since he's medically retired, his kids get to go to college for free, right? So he set up that out his mouth and told me, I'm putting them through school. After that, they on their own. I'm putting them through school. So what else I got to give them? And for a parent to sit up there and say something like that, then because at the end of the day, whether you like your kids, love your kids, whatever, what I'm saying, you hate them, they're yours until the day you die. Even after you're dead, they still yours. You got to take care of your kids. You have to. So
but does it actually mean handing them over something? Like, I think it has to be about a mindset that we actually transfer to our kids. I know, like my 21-year-old, like, I would go and buy like $150, $200 shoes. And he would come to me and say, you know what, instead of paying $200 for my pair of shoes, why don't you give me that money to invest? Like he does Bitcoin and Tesla and GameStop. And he's made money off of that. So I think we should learn to listen to our kids. And, when they come to us with, money making schemes, or I hit a lick, or, investment opportunities, I think it starts there too with, letting these millennials and do what they do with their money. So,
it's good to be open to different means of learning with money, because my daughter wanted to learn about stocks as well. So I'm in financial services and everything, but I said, hey, let's just do something together, and just learn it together. And she was like, hey, okay, and so it should be a teachable moment, but I knew her mind was in the right place, because why? Every time I'm talking to her, I'm talking about saving for tomorrow. I'm not just saying, hey, you can live a little bit, but you got to do everything in moderation. So those conversations are critical. I believe that even though kids need us all our lives, when they start transitioning to that adult phase and everything, they need us even more, because we still laying that foundation for them to be successful, because one day we're not going to be here. And if we want to put them in a position to win, we have to set that foundation mentally for them Because if they have all the tools mentally, then everything in the present they can take care of, and that's including finances.
So I got a question for all of y'all. So do you think growing up in poverty, you think that can have a long-lasting financial effect on people? Or just like how we discussing, as long as you have the right person to come in and talk to people, it can change that mindset.
I think we're
Well,
a product of our environment. Growing up in poverty can have lasting effect, whether it's, physical, emotional, academically. If we struggle in our youth, then that's the habit. It becomes habitual. And so and very traditional. So we continue with that mind scheme, unless we are educated on finances.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think for myself, because I grew up, it was rough for us in Jersey and everything, and I believe that if I didn't change my environment, change my associations, and if I would have stayed there, I would have repeated the cycle that was shown in front of me. So luckily, I had a beautiful, strong mom. Shout out to Cora Arrington. And, that's the hero. That's Mom Deuce right there, right? But she planted those seeds, and she got me out of the environment, right? So once I was able to get around different people and understand that there's life outside of our home was 223 William Street, right? My thinking started changing. So in order for your mindset to change, you had to start changing your associations and the environment that you're in. And that's critical. That's critical to break any cycle. That has to be the mindset has to change a little bit. Have to wanna not repeat the cycle first, but be willing to do the things to break the cycle, whether it's gaining information, getting around new associations, of making a sacrifice, whatever the case may be. Because anything that's instilled can be reworked or rewired. Anything that's been put in you mentally, you could fix that. Anything, almost anything. And it doesn't have to be always, say, not going over on a tangent, but medically or whatever. It's just about who you are and what's being spoke into you, what's being spoke over you. Who are you hanging around? Because when you start hearing it over and over, you start to what? You start to believe it.
Yeah.
Was it good or bad? If you start connecting yourself with people that are going places, if there are 5 people that are going places and making moves, guess who's going to be the 6th person? You are. If you want your income to change, if you hang around people that's making 6 figures a year, the 5 people that's making 6 figures a year, guess who's the 6th person going to be that's making 6 figures? You are. Why? Because you change your environment and you change your associations and everything. So there's proof in the pudding. It could start out that way, but it doesn't have to end that way.
Yeah. And then me coming from Alabama, everybody sit up there and they look at the next man as far as the quick money, the untraceable money. So that's where everybody's mindset is on right now. They want to sit up here. They see everybody around the nice cars with the big rims, got all this jewelry and deck out all nice, wash your clothes and all the stuff like this here. But they want that quick, fast, easy money. So they get caught up in that, and then next thing you know, now they got a record. They going to jail. They can't pull themselves out the hole. They can't get a job. They can't do this. Even in certain cases, they probably can't even join the military because of trafficking. At least they probably get looked at as far as trafficking, right? So we just gotta get out there and we gotta educate the youth and get behind them and try to show them that as doing something different is not you're not selling out. You're just trying to make it, because it was easy for me to sit up there and fall into that scheme, but I had a strong enough mind to sit up here and say I want more for myself. And that's what drove me to join the military, to get away from it, because otherwise I would have been stuck there doing the same thing as everybody else is. Because when I go home now, guess what? All my friends that were sitting up here doing quick money and doing all that, they in the same spot doing the same thing, not going anywhere and probably getting shot at.
Mhm.
And I can't associate myself with that. So,
And I come from Texas. I was gonna say, like, me growing up, I come from Texas, and so coming from both families, sides of family, they were entrepreneur, dairymen, cattlemen, and so my grandfathers always said, think of, you know, make money while you sleep. That's the mantra. Make money while you sleep. So, we were doing cows and breeding horses and, like tapping into our resources that were already there, like our land and, so, and, my uncles and stuff, they've never worked a 9 to 5. They've always lived off the land, literally. So, yeah, it's just about a work ethic and what you're willing to do to, obtain that financial freedom.
yeah.
I know y'all mentioned earlier about, I think it's Stephanie Shear brought up about,
And even
everybody can't go to school. It's not, everybody is not ingrained to sit in there and go to some college. But right about now, I looked up some statistics about, some of the fields that are actually declining. And we look at those fields, that's the plumbers, the electricians, stuff like that. People who got their hands on we call them the blue collar workers. Those are the fields that are declining right now. And these people are retiring right now. So guess what happens to that? Well, one, we lose those services. And two, whenever those people jump into those fields, hey, if I was an electrician, man, my price is going to probably be out the roof because you need it. And most people don't think about that. And so until we actually start filling those fields back in, and especially in the economy we in today, it's mind blowing that all this stuff is out here. Now, we can get into politics and all that other stuff, which I ain't gonna do. But at the same time, there are jobs out here and they need to be filled so we can all be and prosper together. And like you said, Tonyo, having that money sitting in the bank account, it ain't gonna do too much. But how we gonna put that money to work is where we need to be at, where we need to be focusing on that. So, my people, we got about 3 minutes before we have to wrap this one up. So, but what I am going to say, Antonio, Ormon, hey, thank y'all for joining us. I hope that the viewers have gained a new insight about their finances and hope that they share this knowledge with others who might be struggling. And then even if you are the one that's struggling, please contact, Tony or Ormon because they can help you get your finances on track. So I'm gonna pass it back over to Ormon. Hey man, you got any parting words for the people? I say you got any parting words for people?
Yeah, just feel free to contact us. I know it might be a little difficult part to talk about your finances with us and all that stuff like that, but you got to think about as far as we came from the same background you coming from, so it's not like we came from a whole bunch of things. So reach out to us, that way we can get you on the right path to get you success and get you better off in the long run.
Tony, what you got?
Action. Take action. Whether it's good or bad, take action. There's a lot of information out there. Get with a licensed professional, right? And get a health check, get a financial health check. Let me put it that way. Most of us get health checks on our bodies. We get a tune-up for our car. Get a financial health check for yourself. Make sure that you and your family are in the right place. Don't let a crisis happen and then you're scrambling. We want to eradicate, what's it called? GoFundMe. We want to eradicate that. We don't need that because we have all this knowledge here, right? But you got to apply the knowledge that's here. So seek us out. We're willing to help you. Sit down, go over, or sit down and see if you are looking for a different opportunity. right? Opportunities don't come in the same package that you desire for it to be in. So you might have an opportunity to change your life, you know, and partner up with some good people. Seek us out because we do a lot of networking. And most of all, you know, hey, this crusade is real. The crusade is real. We're gonna have an office in every city, every state across America. We're leading the movement, right? And we want as many people that have a heart for helping, that are committed to change and committed to changing their own last name forever. Hey, get with us. We're partnering up and we'll push this thing to the top, nonstop to the top. And thank you for having us, bro. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Stephanie, as well.
Miss Stephanie, it's on you.
Yeah, so I guess just shift the narrative, shift your outlook on finances, because finances are about a mindset, behavior, and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no big long quote this time?
No, no, I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Oh, okay then. So just to let y'all know, next week we're gonna continue this topic on financial literacy. I got my man, Mr. Nicholas Hughes. I call him Mr. Hughes. He's gonna join us and discuss real estate. I've seen this young man turn people's lives around. You know, they came to him as like they said they needed a house, and then he looked at their credit score, and it wasn't all too well. But within months, he provided a plan for them to actually get into those houses. And so I'm a big fan of him and love what he do. You know, to me, he's just like y'all. You know, he has a care. There's a passion to make sure people succeed, and that's what we're all about. We want to see people succeed. So with that being said, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I had a quote from Robert Kiyosaki. He stated, "It's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep. How hard it works for you, and how many generations you can keep it for." So, with that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. And until next week, hey, this is the Door to Expansion webcast. Holla.
Holla.
Uh,
Yeah.